Well, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started this morning. I just want to welcome you to our discussion. This is the first one that we have had this year, and actually we took a break last year and didn't have any, but we had done it for 2 or 3 years in a row. We will have this discussion during this lunch hour, and then we will do it again tonight, repeat it for anybody who can't come. We also tape this, and so anybody, if your friends would like to know what's going on here, you can go to our website and they can view the discussion that we have here today. If you are a tweeter and you want to tweet during make sure you add better words to my comments so it'll sound really like I'm really smart. But here's the hashtag here. It's CISD discussion. What I'd like to do, we're just having a fantastic school year in Coppell. Things are really going well. Our teachers are top. I really don't think you could find a better place to put your kids in a public school. It's been a great year. Our extracurricular and fine arts programs are really on top. Of course, our volleyball team's playing for the state championship defending their state title this weekend. Our football team is starting the state process of winning the state championship, we hope. We had our band do a tremendous job in the marching contest down in San Antonio last week, and so we're just really excited about the great things. Had a great show. If you didn't get to see, what was the name of the show? Drowsy Chaperone. If you didn't get to see the Drowsy Chaperone, you ought to try to find a tape of that because our kids did an outstanding job of that, as well as preparing the show down at the TASA, Texas Association of School Administrators, Texas Association of School Boards Conference in September in Austin. We had about 5,000 people in the audience from all over the state. And our kids just did a fantastic job and just really wowed the crowd. So this is just a wonderful place to be, and I'm excited to be part of the school district. So I really appreciate you being here. We're going to talk a little bit, and how we generally try to structure this is we're not going to be here but an hour. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit, give you some information. We'll have opportunity for you to ask some questions at the end, and then we'll cut it off at an hour, and then we'll let you leave. Now, if you, because I'm going to go through this, I'm going to tell you a story today. And if you need to, if you have more questions than what we can get done in the hour, then after it's over, I'll sit right here and we'll finish out the afternoon if you want to. But I'll answer all of your questions and try to help you understand more the direction that we're going and what we're trying to do to help our students here in Coppell. So don't think that you're not going to get your questions answered today. I'll sit here and we'll do that. If we get to going too fast and you have some things, just jot those down and then I will try to catch you up. I just want to give you a look at what we are going to talk about first, just for those people that need to know where we're going and when we're going to end up. But here are the topics we're going to speak about. The historical perspective. We'll talk a little bit about the Visioning Institute. You might have seen some of that stuff in my communique coming out. The 2009 District Strategic Plan. The North Texas Regional Consortium. And we'll have a board member. Is Amy here? Or somebody going to speak from the board? I can't see.
I'm here.
She's here. The High Performance School Consortium that we've been just selected to be in part of, and then we have a couple of parents that might want to speak, and then any questions that you might have. So we're going to roll through that in terms of about 30 to 40 minutes. First of all, just as a historical perspective of where we are here in Coppell. Coppell ISD has been a high-performing school district for many, many years. Well before I got here, it was a high-performing school district. Our students are performing well on all of the indicators, state indicators, as well as nationally normed tests. Our SAT, ACT, National Merit Scholars, all of those things are trending up. Our IB, AP performance on end-of-course tests are trending up. So Coppell ISD is just a really high-performing district. Teachers do a great job with our kids, and our kids work hard. The test through the state system has come through a lot of iterations. They started out with the TABS test, and I'll stumble all over that if I had to tell you what all those stand for. But TABS, TEAMS, TOS, TAX, and STAR. Those are all the tests that you took. Actually, I started giving the TABS test in my first year or two out of college when I was teaching science at a middle school down in Clear Lake. And so they've gone through all of these different testing programs to try to assess what kids know and to make sure there's some sort of a baseline. And we fully support in the school district accountability. We want to make sure that our kids are learning what they need to learn on their progress toward being either into a college and then into a career after that. So we fully support accountability in Coppell ISD, and we still support that. What we have a problem with is that the test has all of a sudden become the only thing we do. It started out in the TABS test in the early stages of state testing. There was very little pressure. The state just tested the kids, and then you got the reports back, and it told you how the kids did on the test. Didn't really even, it was supposed to be tied to the curriculum, but not as much, but it did give you a little information, and the state even said, we're not going to compare you across districts. This is just for your information, you can use this. And so as we moved up into the teams, TOS, TACs, that all went away, and it became a comparison, and the high-stakes nature of the standardized test became the driver for everything that we do. It is the thing that we talk about in educational circles. It is the thing that drives the school district. It is the thing that people look in the paper to figure out where their schools are. It is where people look to, when they get on our website, to find out where to go move their kids to, which community, which school district. It is extremely high stakes, and the pressure is horrible for the school district and for our teachers. If you don't believe that, think about back in 2005. Some of you were here, some of you were not here, but as part of the old tax system, there was a sub-test called the SDA-2. It was for our special needs students, and we actually got to set the passing rates on that as a staff. We assessed the students, we figured out where we thought they should be in growth in terms of that year, and we set the passing standards. Well, our teachers did a great job of looking and trying to stretch our kids. We want our kids to make maximum growth. They set those standards out there as maximum growth standards, and unfortunately, we didn't get enough of them to what we set as their goals to have that subpopulation counted as successful. And so the state labeled this high school unacceptable, labeled the district, I think, acceptable because of the high school's low performance, and people went crazy. We were shocked. People went crazy. We had about 500 people in the auditorium wanting to know what in the world is going on with Coppell ISD. Unacceptable high school, can we get our kids in college, those kinds of things. So as we began to roll out the data about how our kids were performing all the way, even tax testing as well as SAT, ACT, all those other measures, the people in the audience said, well, your numbers are trending up. Your kids are doing better. It's not a matter of you're an unacceptable school. You're getting better every year, and you're at the top, in your top 5%. In all these years, we're in the top 5% of all the schools in the state of Texas. And so it was the system as it's set up, the tax accountability system as it's set up, that put such pressure on. And so it wasn't about how your kids were performing. It was about the lowest performing group, whatever that group might be. And there are groups that they choose that are difficult and excuse me, have challenging situations. Are children of poverty, very challenging in a school setting. And so the system as it's set up, the accountability system set up now, it labels the school and the district based upon the lowest performing group out of that group. And there's like 36 to 37 indicators that you have to score on, and you can score 35 of those indicators exemplary and one unacceptable, and unacceptable is the ranking that you get. And so it's a crazy system, and we've been talking about this over and over with our legislature, trying to get them to understand that it's an unfair. Nobody minds comparison. Nobody minds challenges. Nobody minds ranking if it's a fair ranking. Rank us fairly. But and in all our rankings, even the one where Coppell High School was rated unacceptable, we were exemplary in like 90% of those standards. We were recognized in about the rest 9%, and that 1% caused the whole system to be labeled unacceptable. Also, I met with two different groups of about 150 realtors who were very upset and very disappointed, and it was like, wait a minute, we sell houses here based upon the reputation of this district. And so how these kids perform is important to us. And of course, our response was how these kids perform is important to us too. And so when we showed them all the data on how the kids were performing, they were like, okay, well, how can we put that into a one page so we can get it to the folks that are out there buying houses? And so the system is just upside down. One of the really bad things about the pressure is that teachers, think about this, we disaggregate with computers now, and technology allows us to disaggregate so well that we can tell which two students in which student population at which class in which period didn't pass, so that caused the whole system to be rated less than what the community expectation was. Now think about that as a teacher. So you have a classroom of kids, maybe at the high school you have 160 kids, and they're coming through your algebra class. And it's not enough to teach the kids algebra and try to assess if they know algebra or not, but you have to worry about those two or this one or that two or the different populations that could cause the whole system to be rated less. And that pressure is huge for a teacher, and it's wrong. And what happens when a system is like that? What happens when the system is like that is that everything is about the test. And so teachers start figuring out ways, how can I help these kids pass the test, not how can I educate these kids for their future. And that's the problem that we have been harping on for 5 to 10 years with the system as it's set up. As superintendents, we were talking about this issue in 2006, looking forward to a 2007 legislative session. We were talking about how bad the system was, how it caused our teachers to be under such stress, how it pointed everything toward the test. And so we got together and started talking about what should education look like for kids who are very different from the kids that we were when we were in school and with the technology available. And we spent about 18 months talking about, we brought in experts in all the different fields, let them talk to us about the future and how we could help kids succeed better. And we just decided that we had to do something. We absolutely had to do something, that the system as it's set up is the problem that we have. It's a 19th century system that hasn't changed since it was started back in with Carnegie units. You move through that 1 year at a time. It's a 19th century system. We've taken a 20th century test that's all about how much can you memorize, how many bubble sheets can you fill out correctly. And now we're expecting and actually shocked, reading the paper, oh my gosh, these kids don't have 21st century skills. Well, we've got them in an old system. We're giving them a test that requires bubble sheets and not really creative, innovative thinking. And we're expecting them to be world critical thinkers. It's not going to work, and we've got to do something about that. It's impossible for the system to create 21st century thinkers as we're set up. And so we have been in the process of trying to figure out what to do about that all along. The system as it's set up is performing better than it's ever performed before. It was set up to rank and sort students. In the 19th century, it was set up to rank and sort. The top 10 to 15% were made ready for college. The big middle, ready for going just straight into a career. The bottom 30 to 40%, they dropped out and they got jobs that were lower level abilities. In my community, Deer Park, Texas, which was on the Houston Ship Channel, it kind of translated like this. About the top 15%, we went off to colleges, either 4-year or 2-year. The big part in the middle, they went across the street and they worked as operators at Shell Chemical or Exxon. And then the ones that dropped out, they went across the street too, and they worked at Brown and Root and contractors in lower level jobs. Unfortunately, our kids, society is not allowing that anymore. They're demanding all students to be prepared for 21st century jobs, 21st century skills, not 30% dropout, not kids that aren't getting higher education. So we've got to figure out how to fix that system. What happens when the test is so so standardized and so critical is that becomes the curriculum. And so there are companies out there that will sell the school districts like us curricular documents that say, okay, here you've got 100 standards. If you look at multiple choice tests and how the tax test or the New Start can assess those, only about 60 to 70% of those can be assessed on a multiple choice test. So that means we've got to focus on these content standards. These 30 to 40 out here, we don't need to focus on those. Those aren't on the test. And so we start narrowing the focus, looking at just what can be tested. We start looking at kids, not as individuals who need to be encouraged to get the best education they can prepare themselves for, but we start looking at them, can they pass the test today? If they can, let's put them over here. If they can't ever pass the test, then let's put them over here, and let's work on these kids in the middle, that if we really help them work on those test skills, maybe they can pass the test. Now, I'm not saying in Campbell, Texas that we're doing that all the time, but I'm saying that human nature all around the state, that's going on in classrooms. People are gaming the system in order to pass the test so they can get the ranking that's satisfactory to their community. That's a bad system. That's not taking care of our kids. That's not getting all of our kids 21st century skills that we want them to have. We've got to figure out a way to do that. We're looking for ways, in Campbell, we put together a visioning document in 2008 with this group of superintendents. And it paints a picture from 30,000 feet of what we think schools should look like. And it takes into consideration things like the new digital technology that we have available to us that so easily helps teachers differentiate in their classrooms. We've been hollering for ages. You have to differentiate as a teacher. You have to make it perfect for each one of the children in your classroom. But, you know, if you look at any one of our classrooms, what you're going to see is some gifted kids. You're going to see a bunch of kids that are really good top learners, and you're going to see some kids that have challenges learners. And then we're asking teachers to stand in front of them and meet every one of their needs in that 1 hour that they have them. I've seen a few teachers be able to do that, but there's a very small percent of teachers that can actually do that. Technology can help that and help us do with that. And so we're working at that. The Campbell ISD has taken the visioning document, and we are working on improving our system, and our teachers are doing great with that. One thing I wanted you just to think about is Campbell's Law. And Campbell's Law is the more any quantitative social indicator is used for decision making, the more subject it will be to corruption pressures, and the more apt it will be to distort and corrupt the process intended to monitor. This is happening in the school districts. The school districts, it's high stakes. The school districts are focusing only on the test. It's happened at other places too. It's happened in universities where they report out the difference in the number of students who apply to a university versus the number that they accept. And so you have schools like Harvard sending out applications to kids they know are not going to get into Harvard so that they can turn them down so that their numbers go up because they only accept a certain percentage of kids. Campbell's Law. The same thing's happening in healthcare when they start reporting surgeries, let's say heart surgery. So the number of heart surgeries they do versus the number of patients that survive. So hospitals are not doing surgery on people that they think might not survive. They need the surgery, but they're not doing the surgery because if they do, they take a chance on their numbers going down in terms of being successful. Anytime you put a high stakes number on a test that's going to cause us to make decisions with, it's going to be corrupted. The system now is corrupt, and every school district in the state is gaming the system. In Campbell, Texas, we're doing the same thing. We're gaming the system for the number, for the ranking, and that's a bad system. The visioning document that we put together, I encourage you to read that. It's on our website. It talks about what we expect out of classrooms, the assessment standards, the accountability systems, the things that we think will be better for kids. It's great to talk to a group of parents because you have those kids in your classroom, your home. So you know what we're talking about. When I talk to business leaders, sometimes I have to talk to them about how kids are different. I won't have to do that today, but we have to figure out as educators how to move our teachers who are used to the old system of standing in front of a classroom like I'm doing today and just talking to the kids and having them take notes so that they can bubble in the answer sheet. We're having to move them from that to designing lessons that engage the kids in the content. And you will recognize that in some of the things we're doing in your children's classrooms right now. The system is set up right now. The STAR system is their new iteration of the accountability system. And I've got, when you get ready to leave, I've got a page here. It's a couple of pages. It's by a superintendent in East Texas, but it just kind of lays out the new accountability system in the state, and it is getting crazier and crazier as they try to make it better and better. Taking more time, more pressure on kids, the whole 15%. Some of you have high school students that are involved in the EOC. The whole 15% of their GPA is a crazy system and really is not going to be effective for helping our kids get to the point they need to be ready for college or career. CISD responded after the visioning document was put together. We started talking about, if kids are different and what we need to be doing is different in classrooms, then what should we be doing? And so we did a strategic plan with the community. If you can look at that strategic plan on our website as well, and you will recognize that we started trying to align ourselves with the future and getting kids to be ready for the future and more ready, emphasizing things like engagement with the curriculum and the content, not just talking to the kids. Things like giving kids choice in learning, sometimes choice about how they learn, sometimes choice about what they learn, sometimes choice about how we assess them, so they show us what they know. Some of the other things we do, we were trying to raise the rigor on all students, helping more kids get into the advanced classes and then providing support for them when they have difficulty. We integrated a lot more technology, and the community helped us with that by putting in about $3 million through PTOs into the technology systems at our campuses. The matching program has really gone well, and we've exceeded the $3 million point for community contribution into technology. And so you can't go on a school. In the last 10 years, we had no wireless schools, and in Campbell, kids got about 45 minutes of technology whether they needed it or not every day. Now we have all wireless schools, and in every classroom you'll see wireless devices. It's really exciting what our teachers are doing there, and I'm really excited to keep moving in that regard. Our teachers are becoming designers rather than instructors, and that's critical in terms of helping our kids involve themselves with the curriculum and learn it on such a deeper level than just memorizing things to be able to fill out and regurgitate back on a test. In this work, we joined up with some partners who were along the same pathway as we were, and we, for lack of a better term, called ourselves North Texas Regional Consortium. You see the list there. We're involved in what we consider to be transformational work, transforming from a very industrial model system to a 21st century system that allows student participation and engagement. As we were working through this, we had a meeting last January. I introduced, as the president of Texas Association of School Administrators, I introduced our commissioner, Robert Scott. And Robert Scott got up in front of us, and he had been on the commissioner for about 8 years, and he had been a company man with the accountability and testing system. And we had been working with him for that length of time to help him understand that the direction we were going was wrong for kids. Robert got up in front of the whole group of administrators, probably 4,000 to 5,000, and he called the testing system, the accountability system that we're in right now, a perversion of its original intent. He said it was an industrial military complex, and it had to be stopped, or we were going to, our Texas education was going to lack for our kids. And so he kind of set us in motion. But after that, we created here in the North Texas group a letter of support for him. He lost his job, by the way, after saying that. But the governor and the folks that run the accountability system didn't like his comments, and so Robert is no longer the commissioner. But we voiced support for him as well as a resolution against high-stakes standardized testing. Our school board here passed it as the very first school board and part of the North Texas Regional Consortium. We had that delivered to every one of the legislators at the time, hand-delivered. And after that, that started a actual national revolution. They're calling the Texas Revolution nationally against high-stakes standardized testing. Right now in Texas, 866 of the 1,050 school districts in the state have passed that resolution against high-stakes testing, and we're continuing to work on that at the legislative level. We're hoping to have some bills ready to go that will redo the way we see high-stakes testing and the way we use that. During the process last year or 2 years ago, looking for changing in the system, we were meeting with Senator Shapiro in a small group of these folks, and we asked her, who out there is out front testing and trying to change the system? You've got us in such a bind, we can hardly, as we're trying to help teachers move from instructing to designing, we're having difficulty because the teachers know that if I move over here out of my comfort level of helping kids pass tests, and I move over here, what about those two kids? And then when you come and see me in my classroom and say, because you didn't teach those two kids and help them pass that tax test, then you're causing the district to have a low ranking. So we tried to help her understand that the pressure is immense on our teachers, and that we're having a hard time, even though the teachers love to engage kids, but they're fearful because of letting go of the tax worksheet because it's been successful for them here in Coppell. So when we had that conversation with her, we asked her, who out there is the research and development? Who is out there trying to do something that's right for kids in the 21st century, not the old 19th century model? And of course, there is nobody. And so we said, well, what about setting up a pilot, allowing some schools out of your system, and then we'll show you how better education can be. And so we wrote a bill, 1557. We had that passed last legislative session. We had it signed by the governor. And what that bill created was an opportunity for 20 schools in a pilot program to get out of the system and to begin working on new accountability standards, new assessments, and a new accountability system that didn't put so much pressure and focus on a test, one single test. So that was passed in the last session, and we've been working since then. We've had our school boards of this group also get together and begin working together to formulate some programs for this legislative session. And Amy, do you want to come make a few comments about that?
No, I think I'm going to have Anthony do it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see Anthony. You want to come up, Anthony?
Yeah, I'd just like to let you know that the North Texas Regional Consortium has been working together. And what they have done is, throughout the summer, both Amy Duncan as well as Susie Kemp has been two of our school board members that have worked very, very vigorously on that. Matter of fact, during the Texas Association of School Administration, Texas Association of School Board Convention, they gave a presentation regarding the work that's been going on with that. And as we move into the legislative session, that work that they've been doing will be invaluable in carrying that message forward about what school boards would like to see, and in addition to the work that the school administrators have done. So it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for us to share a message about what we want our schools to look like as school boards, and working in collaboration with our school administrators, superintendents, et cetera. So we look forward to a great winter and going into that time frame and doing some good work. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anthony. The 1557 resulted in the Texas High Performance Schools Consortium. These are the schools that were selected to be in that. There's actually 23. They make up about 4% of the population in the state of Texas. There's about 5 million students in the state now, so about 4% of that. These schools represent the state demographically, so there's small schools, large schools, more urban, suburban, rural, all the different demographic ethnicities. There are schools from poverty areas, schools of high wealth, and so we're really excited to be in this group of schools. I am the co-chair of this consortium with the superintendent at Highland Park, Dawson Orr, and we are working together to create a pilot program for the state of Texas. Our intention in this is that we would create a pilot. We would ask for waivers this legislative session that starts in January. We ask for waivers to get out of a lot of their systems. The accountability system for being the first one. Their assessments, things like that. And then we would be able to take the time that we believe is in our curricular day. We're saying it's up to 30% of the time that our teachers are spending on testing, worried about testing, practicing testing, benchmarking for testing, all those things that they're doing. We think we can take that time, recapture that time, and work with our teachers to fill that with really creative, innovative projects and ideas that help our kids engage more in their content and be better in the end for that. Now, we're not asking to be out of an accountability system, and what we are working on right now is an accountability system that will replace the states, and we're looking at all kinds of things. We don't have that completely firmed up yet, but we will be coming forth with, here's what we believe will help our parents understand how their students are doing in terms of their assignments and their learning, and it also helped the state understand that we are making progress, our kids are making progress, we're not leaving students behind. And so we are really excited about this opportunity. We're looking at all kinds of different things that would be more authentic in terms of assessment on whether kids know the material that we're presenting them with, and can they then use that material a different way and not just regurgitate back on a test to us. And so we're looking at everything from some nationally normed assessments like an ACT battery that starts like a 4th grade, an 8th grade, a 10th grade, and maybe the ACT. So it would show progress towards being college ready, something like that. And then at some other critical grade levels, maybe a reading test at 3rd grade that would go with our TPRI and DRA. And then maybe a 4th grade math test, but just helping parents understand some really good diagnostic tests that parents could understand if kids were successful or not. The tests that we currently have, the STAR and the EOCs, are not doing that for us. They are not diagnostic in nature. They are not giving us the information that we need whether students have mastery of the objectives or not because of the way they were designed as standardized tests. And so we hope to be able to build in some assurances for us that our kids are making progress, some assurances for parents that your children in every one of their subjects are doing well, and then also to the state that we are using our money efficiently and that our kids are being educated 100%. So those things are important. And if you think about it, we're trying to go back. They keep tweaking the system, and they're trying to fix something that's unfixable. And what we're saying, you've got to start back over and start thinking about what is it that the state needs to know about the kids in Coppell, Texas. Do they need to know that Haley Turner in 3rd grade is making progress in her math? No. They need to know, are the kids in Coppell in 3rd grade making progress? And they can find that out without having to test every single student, every single year, in every single subject, which is just, 40 to 45 of our days out of 180 school days are taken up with some sort of testing during the state testing during the school year, and that doesn't count the practicing and the things we're doing to prep for those practices. So it's a crazy system, and we believe if they will allow us out of their system, and then we can come in with our system of assessment that more informs parents, better informs parents with some authentic measures, including portfolios and things like that, so you can actually see student growth, then we will outperform the state in 5 years. In fact, we'll outperform the state in the first year, but we feel like the group itself will outperform the state if we get that time back in the school day that we're using for testing and can use some really great, innovative 21st century teaching methods with our kids. Our kids will soar, and they will be higher on every measure that we choose to. We told them, you just choose the measure, and we'll outperform you on every one of them. And I believe that we will. Our teachers here are hungry for the opportunity, and we are providing them as a school district the training, the technology, and the tools necessary to help our kids in a 21st century system, and we are really, really excited about the opportunity that we have. Now, we've got some challenges here because we have to have a bill. The 1557 just allowed us to create the pilot. We have to have a bill that comes out that actually allows us to implement, and we propose to do that in 1314. So this session, we will be proposing several bills. There will be a list of waivers that we need, and it will be some explanation of what kind of accountability system that we hope to use. We'll be presenting that here in Coppell in this format and probably a number of times so that parents can understand completely what we are doing and what we're getting involved in. And then we hope to be able to pass that during the course of this session, and then in the 13-14 school year, then we would get into our own, with this consortium, with our own system of really 21st century learning for all kids. We're calling our accountability system CBAAS. That's Community-Based Accountability and Assessment and Accountability System, because we believe that should be more accountable to the community, to you as parents, than we are to Austin or Washington. And the system is upside down. So we believe it should be a community-based with some measures that even the parents would say, hey, we want our kids to be able to do these things, that we can respond to that. We can't respond to that now. There is no time in our curricular day. We have our list of things we've got to do, and we've got to get them done, because we're going to be tested about it, and then it's going to put us in the paper of what we did on that. So there's just no time in the day to respond locally. So we think it'll be a much better system with some community-based standards. And I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth.
My name's Elizabeth Chappell, and I'm here with Brianna Hinojosa Flores, as well as Julia Muma. Did I get her name right? Yay! And also Alan Foster. And basically what happened is that, well, first of all, let me start by saying that we know CISD is an exceptional school. And no one here is trying to dodge accountability. Instead, what we believe is that our students deserve better. And what happened was the four of us were invited to attend an informational meeting put on by TAMSA, which is the Texans Advocating for a Meaningful Student Assessment. And while we were there, we learned a lot about the STAR testing and how it's different from TAKS and it's different from the others. And we learned about the end-of-course exams, and it caused us a lot of concern. And when we came back and we talked about it, and we found out more about this resolution, and we brought some up here. They're the ones on this orange page. I'd encourage you guys to read it. And, you know, Dr. Turner talked about all of the school districts around the state that have approved this resolution. It's right now going through the PTO presidents, and they are taking it back to their schools to talk about it. And what that resolution does is basically, it's a lot of legalese, it's long, it's wordy, but what it does is basically lays out a vision for education in the future. And at the bottom it says, please consider another accountability system. And a lot of people, when they're asking, if we sign this, how can we sign this when we don't know what it stands for? Well, what a signature right now means is that we stand behind the district and we support their efforts to think of and come back with us with a better accountability system. What would that look like? What is the ideas that you have? And you know, the fact that CISD was selected as one of this high-performance school consortiums, it has given them an opportunity to seek a better solution. That's what we want to do, is find out what they have in mind. And we believe, as parents, that we have a voice in that. We believe that we have a powerful role to play in deciding what's best for our students. And I've forgotten to advance my slides. There we go. Anyway, we believe we're an active role in the process. We also want to be a resource for you, and we also want to be able to share the parent voice. The one thing we have up here, we have these yellow pieces of paper. And at the very bottom, there's a place for feedback. I know all of us, our lives have been touched by assessment in one way or another. We might think there's good things about them. We might think there's bad things about them. We would like to start our organization knowing what you think. So if you could please just take a few minutes to jot down your feelings about assessment so we can gather them, and this is some information we're going to give back to the district. I also am passing around a clipboard. I ask you to write your name and email address on there so we can be in touch with you. And we can help parents have a voice in this process and also understand the system and what Capel is going to propose as a better solution. We're working on a website. We're Capel Parents for Authentic Student Assessment, and we'll get back to you with more information. The three of us will be over here waiting if anyone has any other questions, and I want to thank you all so much for your time.
Thanks, Elizabeth. The journey toward a 21st century system that prepares all kids to reach higher and farther than they could go in an old system is where we're headed, and that's what we're wanting. We're wanting Capel should be a leader. Capel kids should be prepared at a higher level. Are we preparing kids now? Yes, we are. I'm proud of the job that we're doing, but we are in a transformation process to prepare kids even better to prepare them in a way, and unfortunately, I talk to kids, have a student advisory committee here at the high school, and when I ask them about what's going on in schools, a lot of them are, okay, just tell me what I have to do so I can get to the University of Texas, or Texas A&M, or Baylor University. I had to say Baylor University. Or somewhere, you know, they're bored a lot of the time. But when we have some of our teachers who are starting to make some changes with their pedagogy and moving into 21st century, what we consider engaged learning, our kids are excited, and they can tell you which ones they're doing. And we, even down in the elementary school, we have some wonderful things going on with our kids working with in more student-centric ways that are about learning and excitement about learning. And that's what we want to create. We want to create exciting opportunities for children to find where their interest areas are located, and then to be able to soar and go as far as they want to go in those areas, further than we could push them in the old system. And so we're looking to make that journey with our community, and we are excited. We're not by ourselves. We got these 23 schools are with us. Some other really top schools are in that list. And so we're developing together, and we're down the road quite a ways with what we might think about in terms of accountability. And that should be, by February, we ought to have the detail on that. So anyway, I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about the possibilities in Coppell, because when you allow our kids, and really I tease them all the time, and if we could figure out a way to get out of their way as adults, if we could take the structures that keep them in the box and just get rid of those and get out of our kids' way, they always outperform and go the next step above what we ever considered that they could. And they're outstanding kids. We have outstanding instructors. Now we need to have an outstanding system to match that, so that we can lead the way with our kids in terms of their success for our global future. So thank you very much, and we've got 15 minutes. I'll take any questions that you might have.
Of the 23 schools you mentioned that are a part of the pilot program, how many are in CISD, and which schools are they?
Okay, those 23 schools are separate school districts around the state, so they're not anywhere in here. We have about 11 of them in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and 6 actually were in our North Texas Regional Consortium group. So, but there are no other CISD. All those were independent school districts, the 23. Yes?
I understand that the bill 1557 gives you that temporary leeway to kind of step back, reassess, and go forward, and that you're going to be presenting the bill next year. It's my understanding. How long do we really have, because we know that bills take a while, will we have continued extension during that legislative process? And if it does not pass for some reason, are we going to have to just stay with the old system, go back to the old system, or are there other?
Right. Well, I think I can answer your question this way. We will write bills. We will go down and try to help people understand those bills as a consortium, and hopefully they will pass that by the end of the session, which will be June, which then would allow us to start in 13-14 in terms of that. Until 13-14, until next school year, we're still under the STAR test system, and we'll take EOCs, we'll take the elementary STAR test, we'll take all of those things. We don't plan to do that the following school year. We plan to have our own system of reporting out assessments to parents.
So we're still in that?
We're absolutely in the system. We're just in the planning stages right now. The second part of that was?
If it doesn't pass.
Oh, very important question. The second part of that is, what happens if they say, nah, not doing that? Well, then I think we as a community need to have some hard discussions. And what our plan is we need to create what we consider to be a balanced scorecard approach in terms of assessing how we're doing in Coppell, and try to put the focus of our staff and our community on that, and that would be multiple measures. How we're doing on the state test, how we're doing on the nationally normed test, how we're doing maybe with service learning hours, like a dashboard of all kinds of different things that the community would help us decide what things are important to the community. We would put those on some sort of a balanced scorecard so that we would be able to report these things out to you every year. And one of them would be maybe a community survey. How successful are we doing in educating your children? And have that as a gauge every year. And so that would be a balanced scorecard. So if we could focus on that, and then we could let the realtor rating be the state rating for whatever it is. And and I told you, the people that came to this about 3 years ago, we are addicted to the ranking as a community. We're addicted to it. And because of that, we're doing things in the school system that we would not do if we didn't have that over our heads. If we as a community would just say, you know what, that's the realtor rating, let's set that aside. And let's, as a community, decide what things are important to us as a community, and let us go to work on those things. And those things are educating your kids to be ready for the challenges that they're going to have in college and career, not some test that they're having to take on the last week or month of school. And so if we don't get to do the consortium model, then we're going to start focusing on, okay, community, what are the important indicators that you think are out there, and let's create a system where we put it right beside the realtor ranking. Okay, yeah, that's what the state says, but look here, how successful that we're being with our kids. And I think if we can do that, maybe we can help the teachers not feel so threatened about the other ranking. So.
I'm really glad to hear everything that you're saying. It's definitely come to be my true belief that these standardized tests have got to go. They're killing us. One of the crucial parts of it, in my experience in education, has been having the buy-in of everybody, truly having parents involved in the discussion, and teachers, and making sure that the teachers' voices are being heard about what they feel is valuable in terms of being tested for their classes. And sometimes the talking heads in education get going at such a fast rate that they don't slow down long enough. Are we doing things to make sure that we're getting, genuine buy-in?
It's a good point, and we're not done with our accountability. We've gotten some principals now involved, so we're trying to push it on down to the campus level, what things are important. So that's really good comments.
Okay.
Have an existing community-based program like you're talking about?
Well,
anywhere in the world or the country or state, anywhere?
We have not found many. What we have run onto recently, and I have a copy of some research that I've just gotten, and I haven't even made my way through the whole thing, but there's a group of about 15 high schools in New York State that have been allowed out of the system about 15 years. We got this group from meeting with Diane Ravitch. If you want to listen to somebody that is really articulate and involved in high-stakes standardized testing, go to Diane Ravitch's blog. And she was one of the proponents of No Child Left Behind. And then when she saw that roll out and what it was doing to education, rather than opening it up, it was narrowing it down. Now she is advocating the other way. And so we got a hold of this group. And anyway, so I got up on the website, and I pulled up a research report from that, and they are outperforming the state of New York. Now they're similar in demographics, but they're outperforming them in everything from their academics to getting into colleges and enrolling to finishing college. It's amazing the kinds of results they're seeing outside of the system of having to take the state's testing. So we're going to be looking at that really closely. Anything else? It's exciting to be a part of the consortium. It's exciting to see our teachers when we talk to them about, we're interested in authentic assessments and things that you do and design, but it's hard work. And what we need you to help us with is supporting our teachers, supporting us as a district, because it's pretty easy for me as a biology person to stand up and talk about cell theory. I can give you a 30-minute lecture on cell theory right now. It bored most of you to death, but I could do that. But if I had to design a lesson that would cause you to learn those same things in a way that would engage you and cause you to be really excited about that takes time, and it's hard. And our teachers are struggling through that design because that's not what they came out of college doing. But when we see our teachers do that, oh my gosh, the classroom lights up with energy, and the kids go crazy, and they learn more at a deeper level. Can transfer that knowledge than what we could ever have just stood in front of them and taught 20 kids in a classroom. So we're so excited about the progress that we're making in Coppell. And even if the state says no to the accountability system, we are committed to transforming the classrooms in Coppell. Those are the kind of classrooms we want for our kids. Those are the kind of classrooms we're going to have with our kids, and we'll deal with the state test later. I think we'll be more successful on the state test even at that, but it's just hard moving our teachers because they've been successful by using those worksheets, and we're trying to tear those worksheets up. Okay, yes sir, ma'am.
A couple of times now that there are 100 standards and that 60 to 70% are on the tests. Could you give some examples of that?
I may let some curriculum people give you the more examples of that.
Well, the state, there are, let's take social studies as an example. There's really about 42 or 46, I can't remember exactly, full standards. There are readiness standards in those, and then there's supporting standards. The readiness standards are the standards that the students are supposed to know for the grade level that they're in currently, and then to help them be promoted for the next grade level. Supporting standards are the standards that are from all the years behind that the child is in. So you can say, well, there's maybe 35% of those are going to be the readiness standards. You would think that we would be able to concentrate on those standards, but there's still the rest of those standards that are going to be taught or that have to be taught again and refreshed because they will be assessed on the state assessment. But it may be a clump of them that with one question will say all of these are going to be assessed by one question. When you miss one question, you failed a whole section of the test. So it's not a clear indication of really what do I know, what I really have learned, and what I'm taking forward. It's really just a one moment of time snapshot. Can I answer that question that day in a multiple choice question? So it's not a good assessment of really what standards am I supposed to know, what I have learned, and what I need to take forward.
If you want more detail, we can break that down even further than that by exact examples of standards. We can just show you the standards on the TEKS that can't be assessed in a multiple choice fashion. But we can get those out and let you see those. Have somebody walk through that with you. Any other questions? I've got two things here if you're interested. I've got a letter you may have seen in the Dallas Morning News from Senator Shapiro nominating the Visioning Institute work as the Texan of the Year, so endorsing our work. And then I have, if you want to read something crazy, just try to figure out the new STAR EOC testing system that the state has, and this doesn't even go into how they're going to rank us. And there's all kinds of A, B, C, D, F things floating around, as well as just giving you a number. You know, you made us 85 as a school district. But all of that stuff is opposite direction of where we need to go in terms of kids and their learning. So we are on a pathway to excellence, and we're all about kids in Coppell, and we have a great supportive community, so thank you for being part of that.